Hello, everyone. This is Randy Kirk, and you have reached Small Business Daily. This is the show where we try our best to help small businesses become more successful. And what is the measure of success? How many and how long your vacations are. That's our measure. That's the only no, that's a kind of an inside joke on this channel, that the more money you make and the better you organize your time and your resources, and the better able you are to plan for the future and get everything done, that's going to result in more vacations. And I have found over my career, as I look back now over my entire life, that my best and most exciting, most interesting memories are vacations. It's an amazing thing. If you think about it yourself right now, I think you'll find the same, that your most precious, your most exacting, your most specific memories are probably about things that you've done on vacation. So the name of the show could be changed to Vacation Daily, but we're going to stick for now with Small Business Daily. Yesterday, we had a great show. If you didn't see it, you need to go back and take a look at the introduction to the small business, local business world. If you are a local business where most of your business comes from an area, let's say 15 to 30 miles around you. So you're a retailer, it might be 15 miles that you consider your geography. If you're a lawyer or a doctor, you might consider it to be a little bigger. But that makes you a local business. You're not interested in a national audience. You're interested in the folks that live right around you. If that's you, then we're going to be talking about the most important thing that you can do to increase your sales as a small business in a local setting. And to help me do that, we have Dan Nera of Burn Media. And Dan told us all about his business yesterday. And so we don't want to get into repeating that every single day, Dan, but at least give us the quick, the 30-second version of what Burn Media does.
Burn Media, thank you, Randy. Burn Media specializes in digital marketing, but specifically in two areas: search engine optimization and video marketing. Search engine optimization, because you need to be found online these days. If you're not online, you basically don't exist in the business world. Unfortunately, that's the reality. And if you are online, the most important asset you could put together are videos. So that's the reason.
Yeah, and we talked about the fact that we share some video background, but your video background was in the world of big time, like shooting movies and shooting commercials and stuff. So even though I've been shooting video pretty much my entire adult life and have thousands of professional videos up online for my clients, where do I go when I need a great video about me? Dan. So if you look at the top of that brand new website I've been telling you about, if you look at Free Business Help Daily, not daily, Free Business Help Now. If you look at freebusinesshelpnow.com, you'll notice there's a video at the very top of the page that explains the page, explains the concept on that page. Well, that's a Dan Nera production. So that'll give you a great example. Anyway, let's go back to the subject matter at hand. We talked yesterday about how critical Google My Business is. Dan and I agreed that there is no other real estate online for a local business. There's no more important real estate than the Google My Business 3-pack. If you're not in the 3-pack, that means you're in the See Other, or what do they call it now? I forget. But it's like you got a little button at the bottom you can push that shows the folks that aren't in the 3-pack. And maybe 20% of the people go to that other.
That's true.
That's what we understand from some of the research. So maybe 20%. If you're not in the 3-pack, you've lost 80% of the crowd right there. So, Dan, what we want to talk about today, we're going to start unpacking what it really takes to get into that 3-pack, or to get to be number one in the 3-pack, the ranking factors that get you there. So let's start with the actual setup of the Google My Business. What would you call it? The app, setting yourself up in the app. Can we talk a little bit about some of the key? I'm going to interrupt you before you start, Dan. Dan has produced what is now 6 videos about Google My Business. He says eventually it'll be 10. But the ones that he's put up now are to help you as a do-it-yourselfer to be able to rank on Google My Business, hopefully in the 3-pack and hopefully number 1. And so some of the stuff on his videos, it's going to go much more in depth than we're going to be able to go on this show. So we're going to try to hit the high points on the show. And then those videos, guess where they are? They're on that new website, freebusinesshelpnow.com. So you'll be able to find the videos there. So Dan, let's talk about some of the most critical factors when you're setting yourself up on the app.
Sure. So the very first factor would be to actually go in and claim your Google My Business. If you don't claim it, it's not yours, and you actually run the risk of somebody else, a competitor, maybe taking it over. So the very first thing you want to do is create your Google account, which would include your Gmail. And then within that Google account, you want to claim that your particular brand, your name, and your business. Google has a system where it'll actually look for your business if it already exists, and it will ask you, is this yours? And you will be able to say, yes, it is, and then go on to actually establishing it. The videos that you referenced are a very basic walkthrough. It takes you by the hand and it actually walks you the setup, what it takes to set it up. In a very basic level, but they're actually very useful in that regard because a lot of people get lost in the interface, and this will actually tell you which are the important steps you need to take.
Yeah. So the very first thing, of course, they got to find Google My Business. You could probably just look it up on a Google search, but the URL is business.google.com. So business.google.com, that'll take you to the actual application setup page, whatever. And from there, you can find out whether your business is already existing. It may already be existing, at which point you can claim it. And if it's not existing, you'll find that out too, and you can start at that point. Additionally, you might have already gone in and done all this work. I would say probably maybe half of you have gone in and claimed it. You've put your name and your address and your phone numbers and all the rest of that. You've done a lot of this setup. What we're going to now talk about is what should you do on some of the categories, some of these simple line items like the name of your business, for instance, that may dramatically affect your rankings. So Dan, I haven't looked at it in a while, but it seems to me that the last time I checked, your centrality of your location was still the number 1 ranking factor. So if you are trying to rank for, we used chiropractor Riverside the other day. So chiropractor Riverside, and you're located on the outskirts of Riverside and somebody else is located in downtown Riverside, that person in downtown Riverside is going to have an advantage. And the person that's located in Corona, just across the border and has a Corona address, has even a lower chance of showing up under chiropractor Riverside. Do you have any techniques or methods that you've helped people with in terms of changing their name just a little bit to be able to be more likely to rank in that 3-pack?
Right. So yes, Google takes into account where the search is being conducted from. And sometimes it makes a difference if you just walk 5 feet away from where you're at. It's really strange how they have their algorithm set up. So yes, but I would say the 2 most important things to pay attention to are the brand itself, the name brand itself, and the location. So Riverside Chiropractor, or brand name Riverside Chiropractor, would be better than, for instance, just simply Riverside Chiropractor. So you want to use those 2 factors. You want to use the name and the location for sure, but your brand name. And a lot of people don't understand this part of it, Randy, and I think it's important to bring it to the forefront. The other factor that's been more and more important for Google to consider in Google My Business is the website itself. You do not want to ignore that part of it, because Google will look at your website and they will see what sort of consistencies there are between your Google My Business and your website.
Yeah, in fact, they want consistency throughout, not just on your website, but on Yelp and City Search and Yellow Pages and Bing and every place else that you show up on the internet. They want your name, your address, and your phone number to be consistent. We'll talk about the NAP in a minute. But one of the things I wanted to say, I don't know if you saw this, Dan, but I want to say it was about a year ago, Google became more flexible on the name. It used to be that if your name was George's, that was your name. You've been around for so long that everybody just knew you as George's. You were an Italian restaurant, but you were just George's. That's what they wanted you to put in there. And if you were going to add anything to George's, like Italian restaurant Riverside, they got upset and they may not let you do that. Then they got a little more flexible. But what I would tell my clients is, if your name is George's or your name is George's Restaurant, change your name. Change your name to be more modern, like George's Italian Restaurant. And then the real change that I was shocked by about a year ago is they started allowing people, even if it wasn't your literal name that's on your business license, you could say, if your name was George's Italian Restaurant, you could add Riverside to your Google My Business title without any kind of an error factor or some kind of penalty. So they'll let you add about 1, maybe 2 words to the end to define your business. You got to be a little careful, but that's where they stand today. They might change it next year, but if I was an Italian restaurant, I would have my name George's Italian Restaurant in Riverside, based on Google today.
Yeah, you do want to take advantage of those, and you're right about the moving target when it comes to the algorithm. But I think the bottom line is that Google wants to make the experience good for the user, and if whatever they're typing in is helping them locate what they're looking for, then they'll allow us, the small business, to use those tools to be able to be found more easily.
Right, exactly. So, and that's how they're commonly changing it. Sometimes those of us who are trying to manipulate them, let's be honest, we're trying to manipulate them, so are confused sometimes by the directions that they take. But this is the current status, and hopefully that continues to be so in the future. So then let's talk about the all-important NAP, which stands for name, address, and phone number. Where would you encourage people to have that NAP showing up, that NAP showing up?
Well, the NAP stands for name, address, and phone number. And you mentioned earlier that what's important is that the NAP be consistent throughout the internet. So if you've got a phone number that's different in a NAP, let's say on Yelp, than what is on your website, or the name itself changes, or the address, and a lot of people don't pay attention when they move, let's say, a business from one part of town to another. They forget to go in and make that all consistent throughout. So these are called citations. These, as you know, these are the places where we put them are throughout the internet, and there's many places where the NAP belongs. It is time consuming to go through, especially if you need to change them later, but it's extremely important to do so because they all have to be consistent. Your Google My Business is a NAP. The information, name, address, and phone number is an important NAP. But again, it's important that all the other NAPs, whether it's Yelp or Yellow Pages or wherever they're at, be consistent with that.
Right. And as long as we're talking about citations, there's some disagreement among professional SEO folks, but typically there's about 15 of these citations that everybody agrees are the critical 15. Have you listed the critical 15 on one of those videos?
Yeah, well,
Your version?
I use a tool. It's free. It's knowem.com, KNOWEM.com, because it's an easy way for you to see right away. Number one, if the name that you've chosen is available to be put on various platforms, and it lists some of the most important citation places. So you don't have to be guessing. And that list changes, by the way. There are some basic ones that will probably not change for a while. The Facebook, obviously Google My Business, but right. I'm talking about, Yelps and the Yellow Pages. Those are extremely important, and those should be in that list. But that list does have a tendency to change over time.
And Noam, I think, goes way beyond that top 15. It provides a very, very long list. And my experience has been the more citations you have, the more likely you are to have a high rank on Google My Business.
You have also the citations.
As long as they're consistent. Exactly right. That's right. Yeah. And then Dan, I think that really brings us to what else is on that page that you think is important in terms of how folks are going to rank. The name, the NAP, the way you do the name, the fact that the NAP is consistent and you have lots of citations, then what else is there that they should pay special attention to?
Reviews, in a word. Their reviews. And Google does make it easier for you to pay attention to that, because they actually provide in your interface a link that you can actually send to people to technically you're not supposed to ask for them, but you can make it easier for them. Tell us about your experience with us, for instance. You're in that edge of crossing the line with Google because you're not supposed to ask for them, but you can make it, like I said, you can make it easier, and that link will provide a direct access to where they could actually put the number of stars they consider you should have. Obviously, you're not supposed to ask them to give you a good review. Just be honest and tell me how I did is the way you should approach it. But yeah, I mean, they make it very easy for you to be able to do that. And the other key factor in the reviews, it's not just reviews. It's reviews that contain the keywords that, in other words, you want to make sure that if you're going to coach people into giving you reviews, that you do so with regards to the keywords, that you ask them to please tell me how I did in specific words. Tell me how I did in baking that apple pie. Tell me how I did in changing out your transmission, and that way you're coaching them into using the keywords that are necessary.
Yeah. And I usually also encourage folks to somehow drop the name of the city that they're from, or the city where the company is. That'll help. And also, this is one I read about years ago. I don't know exactly why this helps, but it's supposed to help. If you name the person who you worked with. So if you talk to a customer service person, or if you talk to a salesperson, you talk to the owner, boy, George did a great, the owner of the company, George came out to my table and made sure that everything was great. So if you can drop the names, I don't know, maybe that's because it makes it more specific, like you were absolutely really there. I'm not exactly sure why, but that seems to be an important signal for Google My Business.
Absolutely.
One of the other things I was thinking about, though, with regard to filling out by the way, reviews, this is the latest, again, I've read on this. 10 reviews are critical. After 10 reviews, it doesn't hit the algorithm very hard until 100. Okay, so from 10 to 100, it's not a big deal. It's a big deal in terms of your consumer who's looking at those reviews. And if you've got 50, believe me, it's better than having 11. Especially if they're all 5 or 4.9, 4.8. But Google apparently, and again, I haven't looked at it in the last couple of months, from 0 to 10 is kind of The more you have up to 10, the better. At 10, it kind of cuts off until 100. It is so easy to get reviews. Yes, I'm going to tell you right now, I absolutely suggest that my clients coach their people on how to write the reviews. In fact, if I got somebody that doesn't like to write, they just hate writing, I'll write the review for them, but at least I'll make sure that it's consistent with their opinion of what took place in the relationship. So in any case, the last thing I'd like to talk about today with regard to setting up the actual form, setting up and becoming a part or changing what you have now is the description. Talk to me about what they should be putting in that description.
Well, again, it's about keywords, right? So you want to utilize as many of the words that are allowed. And I think as of right now, it's 750 words for the description. You want to use all of them. Mm-hmm. And you want to make sure that you put your top keywords in there. Don't stuff keywords. And by that, I mean, don't overdo it.
Repeat them and repeat them. Yes,
exactly. But do it in an organic way, in a way that seems natural with the flow. But that would be the important thing. Use all of the available words they give you and use your keywords.
And then one last thing I'd like to suggest is it's okay to sell in the description. The best Italian restaurant in Chicago, according to, the local paper or whatever it is. And at the end, come on in, some kind of a call to action or call now. Use your calls to action, use your sales techniques. Don't be afraid. The description there is not supposed to be some, laid back thing. Let's turn it into a sales tool. Dan, I want to thank you again for day 2. Tomorrow we're gonna dive into a little more about the things that make a difference. We're going to talk about one of your favorite things, which is backlinks. We're going to talk about websites because this is the crazy part that most people don't say. And Dan says he said it yesterday. He's already said it today. That's how important it is. Your website is the number one online element that Google My Business is looking at to make a decision about you. So if you have a lousy website that nobody goes to, that has none of the keywords, that has the wrong NAP, all those things are going to count against you. We'll be talking all about that tomorrow when Dan returns. Thank you again, Dan, for being here today.
Thank you, Randy.
So what I'd like to talk to you about as we end today, folks, is this effort that we've got here at Small Business Daily is designed to help you become more successful. But I don't just want you to become more successful. I want your business buddies. Are you in some kind of a networking group? Are you in a local service group like a Rotary? Do you have a bunch of friends that get together on a regular basis that own their own business? Tell them about the show. The goal of this show is to help thousands and thousands and thousands of small businesses across the United States, in fact, across the world, to become better at what they do. I've been writing books about how to improve your small business for the last 40 years or so. The first few were specific to the bicycle industry, but more recently, actually 27 years ago, I wrote my first book that was for everybody, and it's called When Friday Isn't Payday. If you look down below, there is a link to When Friday Isn't Payday and my other books too. But When Friday Isn't Payday is designed to take you from the germ of an idea that you might enter into business to opening your business, the grand opening, the first 10 weeks, the first year, how to read your financials, how to sell your business at the end. Some of you folks have been in business for 20, 30, 40 years, and it's time for you to retire, move on. Well, When Friday Isn't Payday covers all of that. Let me recommend that you pick up a copy. The 3rd edition was just redone about a year and a bit ago. So it's up to date. It's just as current as this show is. So tomorrow, Dan will be back and we'll be talking more about Google My Business and about your website. This is Randy Kirk signing off from Small Business Daily.